A very good morning to one and all. I, Shashankian, Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, heartily welcome you all for this last day session on Online Student Induction Program 2020. So, in this session, today we have with us Shri Sundar Sir, Associate Vice President, Infosys. So, it gives me immense pleasure in introducing our today's guest speaker, Shri Sundar Sir. Sundar Sir is Associate Vice President and works for Education Training and Assessment Department at Global Education Center, Infosys, Mysore. He has more than 26 years of experience in IT and education, and he is associated with Infosys for more than 22 years. Currently, he is responsible for Wingspan offerings to clients. In addition to it, he leads the Agile and DevOps enablement and Star account enablement activities. Apart from these, he leads the Campus Connect function at Infosys. He is one of the members involved in setting up of GEC, that is Global Education Center at Infosys, Mysore. Sundar Sir holds Bachelor of Engineering degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Mysore University, postgraduate degree in Power Systems from Mysore University, and MS, that is Master of Science in Software Systems from BITS Pilani, Rajasthan. At present, he is pursuing his research on big data area at Visvesvaraya Technological University, Belagavi, Karnataka. Sundar Sir has served as the industry academic convener at CIA Mysore chapter for around 5 years. He has traveled extensively across the globe for software development and training assignment. Sundar Sir has been awarded Infosys Excellence Award 5 times and also Leader of the Year during 2013 at Mysore Development Center. He was instrumental in setting up GEC at Infosys Mysore campus, and he is the lifetime member of NIE Society. Sir, on behalf of Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, I would like to extend my warm welcome to you, and I would like to request you to take over the session.
So thank you so much, and thanks, Shashank. So once again. ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ.
It's coming.
That's coming. Is it okay? Just see the position.
So you can talk, sir.
Hi, good morning. Am I audible? Is it audible? Okay. Yeah, I think they are checking with people.
Now you can start from it.
Okay.
No problem, sir.
Okay. So no introduction. I think everything is done. We can start. I can start.
No, sir.
All right.
Start from beginning, sir. No.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yes.
All set? Okay. So, good morning, all of you, and sorry for the technical glitches. The Murphy's Law always holds good, right? At the last moment, there will be some small hitches, but good that we were able to come back to normalcy and then restore the session. At the outset, my friends, wish you all a very, very happy and prosperous new year. This day, or rather, yesterday was very special in all of our lives for two reasons. The first thing is, this is the year where you are actually embarking the journey of an engineer, something that you all wanted probably for few years, or maybe since your childhood. I'm not very sure. Some of you are kind of, very eager to kind of start your journey as an engineer. But more importantly, we had a very, very rough year in 2020. We just wanted that year to end so that we have a good beginning. Starting 2021. First of all, let me congratulate each and every one of you for making the right choice, for being students of this wonderful college. I have been kind of associated with this college for quite long because of my official responsibility as in charge of the Campus Connect initiative at Infosys, wherein we work closely with 300 engineering schools, and almost about 30 to 40,000 students are being trained every year. So I've been very closely working with this institution. I should say that one of the very good institutions which primarily focus on students' upliftment, really trying to bring the engineering skills, inculcate those skills amongst all the students. So to that, in this regard, I feel that you are at the right place. So congratulations for being part of this wonderful institution. Secondly, to me, all of you, when you enter your engineering field, you are like a plain white sheet. All of you will very soon be exposed to the drawing sheets. Of course, of late, we are actually simulating those kind of drawing, because if I recollect my engineering days, we used to have something called engineering graphics, where we used to bring the T-square or the mini drafters and the white sheets and do a lot of graphics. But today, I think it is more of simulated graphics that you do. But just to give an analogy, to me, you all are like white sheet. So at the beginning of your journey of engineering, it becomes a lot more easier to actually have the right, message being printed there, because that's going to stay forever. So I thought that it is important for people like us who are in the other side of this industry or this ecosystem to kind of set the right expectation amongst all the students. So with that intent, I thought, let me spend the next 30 to 45 minutes to speak to you, tell you very clearly what should be the beginning for each and every one of you. I'm not going to teach about the subjects that the professors are lined up to teach, but I'm just going to tell you certain things which are extremely critical for you to know. Not because someone from the industry is coming and speaking. It is mainly because someone who is a senior to you, who has gone through this engineering journey, probably experienced the engineering life for more than 2.5 decades, coming and sharing some bit of knowledge, and more importantly, which is helping you in your days to come. So that is my intent. So with that background, let me start. First thing is, change is the need of the hour. Let me make it very, very clear, very clear. change is the need of the hour. Of course, that is the universal truth. Whatever we see today becomes obsolete tomorrow. Things are going to drastically change, right? So there is a need for change, in which change for every students to approach the engineering studies. There is a need for you to change. Change from the way you are studying, change from the way you are comprehending, change in the way that you are approaching these engineering studies. So please be very, very clear that expectations have changed all along, and the way you perceive engineering has to change. So let me actually give some points why this change becomes extremely critical. If you look at any of the doctors, of course, engineering and the doctors are the two professions that are most sought after. But if you go and ask any doctor, doctor would always they call themselves as practitioners. Get into the grassroots level of the word practitioner. What does it mean? They practice. What is practice? You all know, in the cricket match, every day they practice. So because they know very well that tomorrow they might face a bowler who probably they wouldn't have faced in their past. So they need to practice. They need to practice for eventualities. They need to practice to handle the incidents, the problems, or the tough situations. So doctors call them as practitioners. But engineers very proudly call them as professionals and engineers, because they believe, or probably, they think that, yes, after graduation, we have attained a certain level of competency. But the reality is, even the field of engineering is going through a lot of changes. So that being the case, engineers should also be practitioners. Students of engineering should also be practitioners, trying to understand what are the changes that are required in themselves, in their approach towards study, in their way of solving the engineering problems, and so on and so forth. So that's the reason why I coined the name for today's session as Future of Learning, because learning is a continuous process. Obviously, it has to change. The expectation of learning has changed in the recent past, and we need to actually know about it and then start practicing it. So yesterday, I was actually going through an article by Jenkins. I will share some details with you all, probably in due course of time. And they actually gave a wonderful narration of 8 different ways of future of learning, or 8 different changes that they have seen in future of learning. Now, that's going to be the crux of today's discussion for me with you all. The first thing that they have kind of put there, Jenkins has put it there, is change from established generation to emerging generations. So as the words goes, as the sentence goes, probably it may not be very clear to you. But let me actually throw some light on what is the subtle difference between the established generations versus emerging generations. So we all have studied in the history that the Gurukul was something which was very prominent. Students used to actually go to Gurukul, the ashrams, and they used to work, they used to study. So similarly, the education system evolved. And in fact, if you really look at, Indians had a very, very strong educational system before they were kind of attacked by the foreigners. So once we actually migrated into the modern way of teaching, so what became very prominent was the classroom kind of a teaching. All the students used to come together, and then they were being trained by professors, by teachers. And it was more of one fit all kind of a learning to everyone. And when I say one fit all, there is some syllabus, there are some course objectives, there are some program objectives, there are various courses, the table of content, and people were supposed to kind of learn. And how the learning used to happen, all of them come to the classroom, a knowledgeable person called Guru will come, and then there will be some teaching that happens. And this is the current situation even today. But what is the change that is expected in the emerging generations learning is that today, every learner is also a teacher. Every teacher is also a learner. Point number one. The second thing is, the retentivity of the learners has diminished from what it used to be years to what it used to be months, to what it used to be days, to what it used to be an hour, to what today as few minutes. So let me elaborate on this. So it's very difficult for us to, with the kind of distraction that surrounds in the existing ecosystem to kind of retain everything that is passed on the learner, within the duration. So just do some experiment when you are actually listening to something. So obviously your span of attention is minimized to probably 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Beyond that, focused attention, undivided attention is very difficult to kind of get. So it is extremely critical for us to actually look at what we call it as the bite-sized learning. In fact, many of the educational institutions are also focusing on it. The recent study says that almost about 95% of the students or the learners felt that their attention span cannot be beyond, let's say, 8 or 10 minutes. So obviously, the way you learn, the learning components that is presented to you has to be curated, customized in the form of bite size meaning small capsules. In other words, it actually translates to what we call it as the divide and conquer. For let's say that you are learning 1 hour of topic, 1 hour of certain concepts. So if I as a teacher continuously bombard you with the concepts, with the analytics around it, with the practical implementation of it for 1 hour continuously in a monologue form, the absorption rate is going to certainly diminish. After 10 minutes, anything that comes in is not actually is going to rebound, or it's going to bounce on top of you. So obviously it will not make sense. So it is extremely critical for the entire learning ecosystem to kind of divide and conquer, divide the entire learning topics into small bite-sized pieces, understand completely, internalize those concepts completely before you get into it. So this is actually what we call it as the micro learning. I'm sure all of you would actually go through some of these learning capsules that are put in the YouTube or any of the MOOCs that are available today. And most of these learning capsules are not beyond 10 to 15 minutes because they are actually going to give you capsules of learning. And that is the change that we are observing in the learning ecosystem today. So once again, I just want you to please understand the difference between an established generation, a classroom kind of an environment, to self-driven, self-empowered, granular, bite-sized learning approach that the entire learning industry or the learning ecosystem is drifting towards. And according to me, this is a significant change in the way learning is happening in the world today. So what does it mean to you? Before I get into the next topic, what does it mean to you? Let me make it very, very clear. So while you are attending the sessions, either, very soon you're going to come to the campus and then start attending the session. So this is a message that I humbly request or humbly pass it on to even the professors also. Instead of planning 1 hour session, divide what you intend to cover in 1 hour, or for you as students, what you learn in 1 hour into, small pockets of knowledge assets, Try to understand the 4 very key aspects of every knowledge asset that you are inculcating. First thing is, why am I learning this? What is this concept all about? When and where is this concept is all about? And how is this concept going to be implemented? So once again, I will take a step back. I mentioned about bite-sized learning. That is the way you have to approach towards learning. So that is the divide and conquer principle being adopted for learning, rather than making the session as a marathon, 1 hour kind of a thing, or maybe 2 hours, 3 hours kind of a thing. Even I'm not saying that, you break out after this micro capsule learning, but during that time of, let's say, 10 minutes of introducing a certain concept. So please try to kind of present it from the professor's perspective, but more from the student's perspective. Why am I learning this capsule or this knowledge asset? What is this all about? When and where is this all about? And how is this all about? See, the why part, what you're learning. So why am I spending my precious 10 minutes of time to learn that component, the bite-sized component? Secondly, what is it all about? Where is this being used? When is this being used? So that becomes the contextualization of what you learn. But eventually, you need to understand how to apply whatever concepts that you have acquired into reality. So I'm going to talk about that as contextualization later. That is also one of the observations of future of learning, contextualization of what you're learning. But it is extremely critical for us to know as students, as professors, the why, the what, the when, the where, and the how part of it in every aspect of learning. This is very, very critical. So this is what I mean by, established generations versus emerging generations. So this is an important point. This is the drift that we are seeing today in future of learning. The second important change or the modification that we are witnessing today is a generalized approach towards individualized approach. A very important point. Again, these are all cryptic terms you may not be able to comprehend completely, but let me elaborate on this. Generalized versus specialized or individualized. So today, in a class, typically we'll have 60, 80, 100. I have seen even at times about 150 students in a class, right? And there is a standard syllabus. There will be a table of content stipulated for every topic. And then the professor, obviously for the constraints that we have, will come and then present it. But just understand, let me give you a simple analogy. At home, please ask a question to yourself. There are, let's say, 4 or 5 people. Each one of you will have your own food taste. Some of you probably like South Indian food. Some of you prefer North Indian. And even within South Indian, you always have reservations. I don't like this dish. I like this dish. I don't like this vegetable. I like this vegetable. So all kind of permutation and combination, diversity in our food taste, right? So if for a small thing like the food itself within the house, who belong to members of the same cluster, we find so much of variance. Just imagine, in a learning ecosystem, when we are going to have about, 60, 70, 80, 100 students sitting together and learning one common concept. Look at the diversity that we can actually envisage. So each one of us will have our own styles of learning. For example, I prefer to learn by doing. Someone might prefer to learn by listening. Someone probably might prefer to learn by referring to some textbooks or listening to some experts. So each one of us have our own ways and means of learning. But unfortunately, in the current ecosystem, so it's like one fit all kind of a situation. So the way professor teach to every one of us will be uniform because of the complexity, because of the challenge of getting individual attention to each one of us. So I might probably be more inclined towards practice and learn, whereas initially I have to listen to, whether I like it or not, I have to listen to. So there is, this is a challenge. And, if you ask me, do we have a ready-made solution to that? Probably not, but we may have to find a workaround to solve it. So how can this workaround be possible? Many of the institutions, including the Vidyavardhaka College that you all belong to, has their own concept of what we call it as the study circle. They have the concept of giving a mentoring support to individuals. They have the concept of forming a small group of people and then putting some problem statements for them to discuss. But more importantly, today there are multiple avenues for you to get into the customized way of learning. So only thing that it calls for is you have to come out of the conventional approach of learning. So let me elaborate a bit on it. If you think that your learning is going to happen only inside the classroom, then it is still generalized way of learning. But there are plenty of opportunities for us to create our own individual learning plan. So how can we actually do that? For example, so there has been a concept being taught. Let me take a simple example. Today in physics, they might teach you something about kinematics, or maybe something about the Newton's laws, or whatever it is, right? I think you all are accustomed to. So the way it has been taught in the class is instructor will come and then the educator or the professor will teach. So that may not be the conducive way for you to learn. So that is not the end of the journey. Yes, it is a generalized way. But you as an individual who has been provided with the smartphones of the world today, which most of the time we would use it for the WhatsApp and the Facebook access, can actually get into the ocean of knowledge assets that are available, search through Google or whatever means, or even subscribe to the online learning that is available. Start digging a little more into it and create an individualized learning plan based on what has been covered in the class. Because what has been covered in the class is very relevant for you in the current role that you are actually expected to have or you expected to work. But at the same time, you don't have to be bound by the generalized approach of learning. You can always create an individual learning plan for you. There is absolutely no shortage of learning resources today, right? So basically, it boils down to the point that you being a learner inside the classroom can translate or transform yourself into a teacher for yourself. You are going to be the teacher for yourself. So when I say from generalized to individualized, it means you are transforming yourself from a student to actually, a teacher kind of a scenario, right? I think it's very much required for you. So my sincere request to all of you, is please come out of, your mindset of looking at your smart devices, be it the tablet, be it the phone or whatever it is, only with the intent of, accessing the social media sites and making your comments and all those things. You can create your own individualized learning plan based on the generalized learning framework that is put. To some extent, the colleges will make an attempt to actually, kind of move away from generalized to an individualized approach of learning, but it becomes too difficult for them because look at the complexity they will encounter. So one professor has to cater to 60 or 80 or 100 students. It becomes very difficult to create 100 variances of the same concept that is being introduced to the students because each one of you will have a different learning style. But on the contrary, you as an individual, first as a learner, acquiring the generalized knowledge and trying to create an individualized learning plan for yourself, the way that suits you, because you are the best judge of yourself. So obviously you can actually make, create this individual learning path. This is also another drastic change in the future of learning. So that is from generalized to the individual. The third important thing that I'm bringing is from a reputable employer to relevant skills. This is what actually, Jenkins has put it in his paper. So let me clarify this. From a reputable employer to a relevant skills. Reputable employer to relevant skills. Let me throw some light on it. Most of the time, you choose engineering based on the college because the college has a reputation. You choose the branch of engineering because that has got reputation or that has got, demand. A lot of jobs are available in this. Similarly, most of the time, engineering students of past used to look at the company, the employer, as they used to focus on the employer, and doesn't matter what is the nature of the work that I will be actually experiencing after joining. So the focus, the perspective was more of an employer, and we used to go behind the employers. So company A comes for campus recruitment, all the people apply for it because the company A is a very reputed company, right? Obviously everyone would go for it. But today the world is changing. The world is changing. It is in the transient state, or it is in the changing state. Gone are those days, or going in the future, the students will not go behind the employer, but they actually go with acquiring the relevant skills, having the adequate rigor and relevance. So what are those skills? Obviously, you will come to know in due course of time, but you need to have your mind open to understand, to realize what are the relevant skills of the industry. Don't go behind an employer. Look at what are the pertinent problems in the world today. Probably the digital technology is, is making a very big impact in the world today. So try to acquire those skills. Don't go behind the employers, and you're going to see very soon, 4 years from now, when you are employable. Trust me, if you go with the right state of mind, instead of you going behind the employer, the employers will actually come to you. So there has to be a reversing of the phenomenon, or reversing of the situation where students used to go behind the employers, but it is going to change now. The employees are come, they change their gears and come towards students with relevant skills. When can that happen? When the students acquire the relevant skills. So we are envisaging the third major shift in the future of learning, that is employer-centric learning to skill-centric learning, which eventually will lead to employers knocking the doors of the students with the right skill rather than students going behind the employer. So this is being kind of observed, and this is going to certainly happen because we are seeing that today, right? So if, as you know, people used to ask me, hey, with extreme automation, is it true that the jobs are going to shrink? My answer is absolutely not. So as long as the students acquire, the engineers acquire the relevant skills in whichever area. Similarly, students used to come and ask, hey, I got civil engineering, I got mechanical engineering, I got, let's say chemical engineering, but I was looking for computer science engineering. So will I be, at disadvantage because of my branch of engineering? The answer is absolutely not. The reason why I'm saying that is just like the medical field, where the initial 5.5 years of base is common to everyone. Every engineer need to have what I call it as the problem finding ability, irrespective of whichever domain it is. Doesn't matter whether it is a mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or civil engineering. We need to have that problem finding ability. Please understand, not just problem solving ability, but problem finding ability, irrespective of whichever domain it is, because the customers who come to you as, as problem solvers, coming to you as the solution providers, so they might come from any of these disciplines or domains. So it is extremely critical for us. Engineering discipline to some extent might help, but it is not sufficient condition for you to be employable. What it calls for is your problem finding ability and then problem solving ability. And what it actually requires is building the relevant skills, building the skills of of requirement of the future. So this is the third point. Just to recollect what all the points that I talked about. First is the change is established generations versus emerging generations. The second one is generalized to individualized. The third one is reputable employer towards a reputable employer to relevant skills. That is changing the perspective of an employer to a student-centric one. The fourth important thing is push versus pull. This is something that I really like. In fact, we in the enterprise learning scenario also are very much concerned about this particular problem, and we are more or less able to bring this change. Push versus pull. So let me ask you this question. Suppose you all are asked to attend this induction program today, and you are doing it, not suppose. It is the reality. All of you are attending the session today. And at the same time, there is a very, interesting event that is happening, be it some cricket match. We all felt so happy that India beat Australia, and we are in the critical juncture. Let's say that India is just about to win the the test match, and it is happening. The last 1 hour is very interesting, and during that 1 hour, something very important in your course is being taught. And if you are given a choice, so which one you prefer to attend? And professor will come say, don't worry, I will give you a choice, either to attend my session, and the professor is a very renowned professor, and he is telling that what I teach today is something extremely critical for you to know as engineers, versus there is last 1 hour of cricket match that is happening. And if that choice is given to you, where will your mind drift towards? Whether you want to actually watch that cricket match, or you want to watch, you want to listen to the talk. So today, what is happening is you are compelled to attend the session. So you are pushed. Push means you are compelled to attend this session, and you are not given a choice, right? For very valid reasons. I'm not saying that you should be given a choice, or we should be given a choice at this point of time. But the only reason why push is not working is, look at that scenario, look at this situation that I've put forth. So most of you, or most of us, let me actually speak for myself. If I were to be in your shoes, my mind will be actually thinking, whether India has won or not, what is going to happen at this, what would have happened now. So my professor is telling me something, but my mind is not focused here. So I will still pretend to attend to my professor's session, but my mind is moving somewhere else. So the best out of this teaching will not come out. The best out of this learning experience will not be realized by you, because you have divided attention, right? So this is the push model. Unfortunately, extrapolating it for the entire 4 years, most of the time we are pushed to learn because we have to actually get the degree and we have to get the job. Our parents are watching, they come and see how many hours you are spending in a day to learn, and so on and so forth. But learning has to be fun. So the best out of you will come out when personal compulsion take a precedence over official compulsion. I always quote this point. Personal compulsion take a precedence over official compulsion. So what I mean to say here is you should start enjoying it. See, again, one more analogy I give. Every day in the morning, we all brush our teeth. We do that not because of any other reason, but our neighbors or people with whom we speak will not actually accept us gracefully if we go without brushing our teeth. But just for a moment, change the gears, change your perspective, and start enjoying your brushing. You think in a way that, yes, I am brushing primarily because of my own reasons, not because someone is actually, being disturbed because of my current state. Then you start enjoying. Tomorrow onwards, observe this. You start enjoying your brushing. So then you will see that the world around you is very beautiful. Start enjoying every minute thing. And when you are attending my session, probably, it's almost about 30 minutes of my time with you. Most of you are attending. Yes, there is a stipulated program for you as a part of the orientation or induction, and you're attending. But for a moment, forget about me, forget about anyone. Someone is talking to you with an intent to make sure that you are well prepared, and that's going to help you to actually become the Narayan Murthis of tomorrow. So if that is the mindset that you have, and if that is the perspective that you bring into yourself, I think you start enjoying it. So please remember, when you start learning, when you start your journey next week onwards, attending many courses, please come out of that mindset that someone is imposing me to learn. But actually, it is not for someone else, it is for myself. So whatever I am learning is for building my knowledge base, and that is going to help me in the future tomorrow. Remember, I mentioned about the point of employer-centric to skill-centric. And in order to bring this transformation of employer-centric perspective to skill-centric thing, what it requires is you trying to enjoy the learning rather than being imposed to learn, or having the mindset that someone is imposing me to learn. So this is another important change in the future of learning. So it is going to be more of a pull than a push. So no one has to monitor you. So I'm happy that you all are part of this autonomous, wonderful institution, and there is a flexibility for you to learn. Please, meet your professors and say that, sir, you taught about ABCD subject or ABCD concepts. So I want to actually do something, create a proof of concept. I want to experiment on this further because I feel that there is something that I can actually do on myself. And then why don't you please give me an opportunity to share it with the rest of the team? See, look at the difference. Always teaching used to be a monologue. Professor used to come and teach, but trust me, teaching is a barter system. There is give, there is take also. Just imagine the kind of satisfaction that you get tomorrow when you go to the stage and address your own classmates, not with an intent to get some kind of fame, but with an intent to share your knowledge. And that can happen only when you start loving what you are learning. So this is extremely critical. The world is moving away from push to a pull model. The next the fifth one, I know I'm conscious about the time that is allocated for me, so that's the reason why I'm just cutting short some of the points. So let me actually go to the fifth one. The fifth one, what he says is learn to work to learn. This is interesting, right? So learn to work versus work to learn. So learn to work is the push model. There are certain syllabus, certain topics, certain courses. Why am I learning? Because I need to get a job. So if someone comes to you and asks you, hey, why did you choose engineering? Because I know it gives me a white collar job. Why did you choose this branch? Because someone told that it is going to give me a lot of job opportunity. Why are you learning this subject? God knows. So this is what the college has stipulated. So that is the kind of a mindset most of the time, the learners or the current learning ecosystem has. By the way, when I talk about all of that, don't think I'm directly hinting at a learner. It is the learning ecosystem that has been in existence for decades together. So the learning is more of, mechanism to work, but the change that is expected is work to learn. So which means to say that today the world is full of problems. So when I say problems, I'm not just talking only about the COVID problems that we all got completely disturbed with. The engineering problems are omnipresent. They are present in all fields. So remember one thing that I talked about a little while ago. Today, the employers are not expecting the employees to be only problem solvers. So when I joined engineering, when I graduated my engineering, the first thing my employer, when I joined the employment, the first thing my employer or my manager told was, Sundar, you have to become an extremely good problem solver. So what does it mean? You have to become an extremely good order taker. What does it mean? I have a problem. I means the customer. The problem will be given to you. You use your engineering brain excellence to solve it. That was in existence till recent past. But today, customers are coming to service providers and they say, hey, I am not able to actually get good business. My competitors are doing much better in the business, but I don't know where the problem lies. I have the best infrastructure, I have the best investment made, but still I am not able to actually be able to beat my competitor. And then if you go as a service provider and say, hey, I understand, I understood what you are saying, can you please tell me what are your problems? The customer will laugh at you and say that I don't know what my problem is. I don't want you to be an order taker, my friend. Please become my business transformation partners. Look at the power of this statement. I don't want you as a service provider to become my order taker, but become a business transformation partner. So what does it mean? I want the service providers to understand my business ecosystem, understand what are the challenges that I'm facing, why am I not able to do well, whereas my competitor is able to do well, and try to suggest me solution based on the problems understood by you as service provider, not as customer, because I'm failing to understand what are my problems. So this is the change that we are witnessing in the world today. So hence it becomes very important for us, for the entire learning ecosystem, to drift away from learn to work to work to learn. And if we start working to learn, obviously, the ability to kind of identify the problems before solving it will come into picture. So the moment you work to learn, obviously you understand the entire engineering world from different perspectives. For example, if there is one way of looking at engineering problems or the engineering world, you start looking at in a 360-degree way, and that is the need of the hour. So what does it mean to you as students tomorrow when certain topics are being taught? So yes, I need to know the necessary aspect of what is being taught to me, the ABCD of that, but it should not stop you from knowing only that, because you are not learning to work, but you are working to learn. And the moment you change the gaze and start working to learn, then you take that topic, get into your most sought after smartphones or gadgets and start looking at what are some of the emerging trends in this area. So if tomorrow you are actually learning about, let's say, I can give an idea example. If you're learning about database management system, get into the details of what are the emerging trends in DBMS. If you're learning about the programming approach, what are some of the new age programming paradigms or programming approach that world is witnessing today or expecting it today. The moment you keep your mind open this way, you are automatically switching yourself from learn to work to learn. And once again, that has got an impact on all the 4 points that I mentioned earlier. So that is the extreme important thing. The sixth important change of future of learning is centralized to decentralized. This is a very interesting thing, right? Centralized to decentralized approach of learning. So what does it mean to us? All our knowledge repository used to be in a centralized approach, right? So everything was confined into one place. So obviously, there used to be one place where everything was available. Similarly, the entire learning syllabus or whatever it is was centralized. But slowly from centralized, we are moving towards decentralized approach. I can give your own college example. So you are all very lucky because you're going to be part of this autonomous institution starting this year. If I have to perceive the earlier state of the college where it was affiliated to, let's say, one university, then it becomes a centralized approach. So there are certain, I'm not saying that centralized is bad, please don't take me wrong, but when you have a centralized approach, obviously you are bound to be into one fit all kind of a scenario. For example, you can't have multiple variants out of that. There is a limitation to the extent that individualized thing can be derived out of it. It is most of the time centralized. For example, the engineering syllabus will be centralized. There are only some little flexibility for the colleges to make certain changes, etc. But the moment you become autonomous, the reason why the AICT is proposing this kind of autonomy based on the college state and its capability is primarily because colleges are given freedom to create some individualized college specific, but of course aligned to the engineering problems, some learning aspects which will actually bring more rigor and relevance and, more importantly, flexibility. Similarly, for me as a learner, instead of just focusing on a centralized learning model, centralized syllabus or the topics, I can derive my own individualized or decentralized learning path. So I just want to mention here one thing. Many of the students they have approached me whenever I visit colleges as a part of my campus connect responsibilities. I address a lot of students. Some of the things they always say that is that, sir, most of the campus connect, or what do you say, campus interviews are confined only to some engineering branches of some specific engineering branches. Is there a possibility for me to get into the IT world, or how can I be employable? So the most important point is, don't think the three fundamental building blocks of computer science: storage, compute, and network, is restricted only to computer science. These are all the building blocks, and you need, irrespective of, as long as you're an engineer, you need to have the fundamental knowledge of storage, compute, and network. So that is extremely critical for you to possess it. So, and that again calls for you getting into the decentralized way. You can create your own learning path, your own approach, and don't just only restrict to the centralized way of learning. I know I'm running out of time. I have just two more points before I wind up. So, manual to automated. So manual to automated. Today, the world is moving towards automation, extreme automation. So gone are those days where there used to be human interventions. So now the learning. So we are migrating from a manual to automated way. So automation is not restricted to a branch of engineering. It is applicable to every engineering discipline. And it is extremely critical for you to know what does it take for me as an engineer to bring this transformation from an manual way to automated way in any domain of work, in any domain of the customer. So this automation is extremely critical, and automation can be achieved using three important things. One, people, process, and technology. Second one is process. The third one is technology. So there is a need for people mindset. You need automation engineers, ability for people to think beyond just the manual activity, and process. There has to be a disciplined approach to create the automation activity. And of course, the technology, the tools and techniques are extremely critical to bring in this extreme automation. So this is the seventh change in the future of learning. So all the learning has to be aligned towards automation part. The last piece is information, perspective to this thing. So that is, there is a need for people to move away from just acquiring data to intelligence. You have to drift towards intelligence. I'll just wind up with that point. Today, in any learning system, what we acquire in the classroom is data. After that, you convert them into information and eventually end up in knowledge. I repeat again, the learning that most of the students have today in the engineering schools is all about acquiring data, transforming them into information. Professor does it, and finally giving information. So you become information ready engineers. But what is more important is contextualizing the information. You need to take it to the next level. From, let's say, information, you need to derive intelligence. So from this knowledge, you need to derive skill, and skill should derive intelligence. So you have to go up the ladder from data to information, information to knowledge, knowledge to wisdom, wisdom to intelligence. So basically, that wisdom and intelligence are part of skill acquiring process, and that is something that the industry is looking at. So that is where the future of learning is drifting towards. So friends, these are some of the points that I just thought. In fact, I have referred, I just wanted to kind of structure my thought about future of learning. So I just referred to this Rayon Jenkins paper, which was recently published towards the future of learning, the changes in future of learning. And I thought it is very relevant to present to all of you. So I just want to sign off. But before that, okay, there is a question that is being asked, so I'm just reading out for you. So can we get internship in our second year? If yes, can you please inform how to get internship from Infosys? Okay, so Infosys provides internship for Infosys selected students. That will happen in the final year. So I'm happy that your institution is becoming autonomous, and autonomy always brings in flexibility. So obviously there is a possibility to get internship in the final year for sure, and we are in the neighborhood also. Having said that, second year, if you are looking at some problem statements for you to solve it, etc., we are always there. Of course, many of the times my team comes and then conducts some training programs or expert talks. In fact, being part of the academic council of this institution, I have some responsibility to deliver something to this institution through expert talks and other things. I'm not sure, because Infosys is a large company. We cannot actually have the decisions being made at Mysore. But if tomorrow, when the world is changing, by the way, I just want to mention that Infosys opens or has opened what we call it as InfiTQ, Infosys Talent Quotient, which you can subscribe to from second year. There are assignments and projects that are being given there, and you can do on your own, and need not get an Infosys stamp, but you can always try and then do it on yourself. I think that is something that is very much possible. I will share these details in due course of time. So the other thing is, what skill and extra content does companies expect in employability? So let me tell you, this is a very interesting question. Hard skill is something that we all aim for, but soft skill is something that we ignore. Soft skill need not be just the communication skill. Soft skill is to think beyond, understand the world in a different way. Soft skill could be critical thinking. Soft skill could be as simple as you understand what are the expectations in the world today and preparing yourself. So my request to all of you is, I know many of you will have some challenges in communication, oral or written, or sharing of your knowledge, etc. But remember something that I mentioned about customized, generalized to customized kind of thing. So please take the ownership on yourself, and whenever certain topics are covered in the class, please actually take the permission of the professor and take about 5-10 minutes to explain to the class, so that your communication skill also will be improved, and you will also think about in a different way. So hence, according to me, problem finding ability is extremely critical. Critical thinking is extremely critical. On top of it, your perspective of looking at the problem from engineering mindset is critical. And soft skill aspects like communication skills, oral written, working in teams, these are all the critical things, apart from the hard skill, the technical skill that you are actually learning. So there is nothing like starting now. It is a continuous process. So my request to all of you is, today itself, you come out with your own plan. Your plan should be something like this. Yes, college is going to teach me something, but from my perspective, for my own growth, to become the engineer of millennia, to become a true software to engineer, software comes because I come from that profession, but a true engineer, and to change from an employer centric into a skill centric approach in my life. So what I'm going to create is my own learning path. So please come out with a short term, medium term, and long term plan today itself. What are short term? Probably what you want to do in next 3 months or 6 months. So what I want to achieve, apart from the college and the syllabus and the learning that we'll have in the college, that is anyway going to come. But you as an individual, for example, I want to learn one programming knowledge, one programming language, one database, and one network concepts. So you remember I told about three things: storage, compute, and network. So it doesn't matter whether I'm a chemical engineer or a civil engineer or mechanical. I will learn one programming language, one database, and network concepts as a part of my short term, 6 months. As a part of my medium term, so I want to learn about some new age skills, be it on big data or be it on any engineering discipline. So that should be your next 2 years plan: short term, medium term, and your long term plan. By the time you come to the 4th year, remember what I said: employers should come to your doorstep rather than you going behind the employer. For that, what does it require? So please talk to your students, please talk to your professors, talk to anyone who is available as part of your supporting ecosystem, and come out with this plan. So AI and ML, okay, there is a question on AI and ML. Absolutely, yes. AI and ML is in scope. I'll give you a very simple example. We at Infosys group the entire technology landscape into three things. One, we call it as Horizon 1 skill, which we call it as the commoditized skills. So these are all the skills that help in maintaining the current business of the customer. The second one, we call it as the growing skills. So growing skills obviously are the ones where technology is emerging and the customers are progressing in that direction, or the solutions are making use of that. So we call it as Horizon 2, and all your big data, agile, DevOps, and all will come into picture. The third one is called the Horizon 3 skill. That is where the niche skills are coming into picture, and all your AI and ML are coming into that region. The growth of technology related to AI and ML is absolutely very high. So I think I know this question would have probably come from someone who belongs to AI and ML branch of engineering, but my request to all of you, some 600 students here who are there, who are attending this, AI and ML is not only for those 60 or 100 students. Let me tell you, the new age skills are for everyone. So please don't think that you are part of the mechanical engineering. You have to be part of this automation journey, and the automation journey is made possible through AI and ML and other new age skills, and there is absolutely no barrier or impediment for you to acquire those skills, and you should start looking at it. So can a civil engineer be placed in Infosys? Why not? I'm an electrical engineer. Lot of my colleagues are from non-computer science to begin with, at least in the graduation. So absolutely yes. Does one size fit all kind of education will vanish in near future? My answer is strong yes. Trust me. But if you think that the colleges will make that possible, probably not. The colleges will only create that mindset in you that yes, we can minimize that one fit all. For example, 1:60 can be reduced to 1:10. For example, the study circle that I talked about. So they can only bring down a generalized to some extent specialized, but 1:1 is possible when we ourselves empower and start learning on our own. What are the skills required to be placed? Sorry, what is the previous question? I think there was one more. Does one set? Yeah, sorry. The other one is skills required to be placed in Infosys. I talked about it. Hard skill. So please start focusing on your engineering discipline, irrespective of whether it is mechanical or civil, etc. That's number one. And please be extremely good problem finder. Let this message be clearly imprinted in your mind. You are an engineer of millennia, not merely a problem solver, but a problem finder. So there is something called design thinking approach. I'm sure the college will have workshops conducted on that. You should be a problem finder, number one. Second one, start looking at what are the new age skills. New age skills doesn't have digitization, automation, doesn't really confine only to computer science. Computer science is a catalyst to every branch of engineering. So computer science, though it has its own existence, but it becomes the building block for every engineers, and it is extremely critical for you to learn about it. So my request to you is please start looking at new age roles and new age skills, etc., and then start acquiring it. So I know I have overshot my time because we had some initial challenges in connecting and all. I wish I could continue, but I think, because of proximity and the connection, because US is a part of the Campus Connect College and I leading the Campus Connect for Infosys have the responsibility of doing whatever best we can for this institution. And, we will continue this collaboration probably sometime in near future when you all come to the campus, this wonderful campus. So then if there is an opportunity, I will come and meet you all and bring our team to talk to you and so on and so forth. So we can actually continue this collaboration in the days to come. So I'm not sure, whether whatever I spoke made sense to you completely right now, but at least one message that I just want to pass it on to you before I sign off. So if you ask me, what did you learn? Because I have traveled all across the globe, I have taught students India, outside, and all those things. I still feel that we have an edge over others for the next 10 to 15, 20 years. And the only way that we can actually still, overtake the rest of the students community. Of course, we want everyone to grow, but we also have to be a little selfish. So you all our students can actually excel, and they will have a notch over the others. And to make that happen, please become true engineers. And in order to become true engineers, have the problem finding and problem solving ability. And please understand how the world is changing towards the entire approach of learning. But finally, remember two sentences that I'm going to make and conclude. Number one, in this world, there is absolutely no substitute to hard work. And finally, there is no shortcut to success. So automation, everything you can speak about, but eventually there is no shortcut to success. You cannot automate success, and you cannot substitute hard work. So you have to be hardworking, not hardly working, hardworking. And you should be smart. You should uphold integrity and be proud students of this wonderful institution. And once again, on behalf of all of us here, on behalf of the institution, on behalf of the organization that I come from, I wish you all good luck. Wish you a wonderful, wonderful new year. And this year, hopefully, will bring everything that you dreamt in your life, and let all those dreams come a reality. So thank you so much. We will continue to stay in touch. And thank Vidya Vardhaka and all management members for arranging this. It was completely a voluntary one. I wanted to talk to you. It was not they came to me, but I just wanted to speak to you because I feel that this is the right time. You are at the right place at the right time. And I thought it is my duty to share a couple of my experiences with you all. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And sorry for being late. I extended the session and over.
Thank you so much, sir, for this brainstorming session on future of learning. On behalf of Vidyavardhaka College of Engineering, Mysore, I would like to extend my heartfelt thank to you, sir, for giving us an opportunity. Thank you all. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.